everyone, this is Tisha with Aquarius Builder. I hope you're doing well. Um, this heat here in the Midwest sucks. Um, so sorry I haven't been on for quite a while. As you know, I've been very busy. I think we all have, and then the chaos that's going on in politics right now is just um, exhausting. I don't know what other word to say. Okay, so as you know, I have been tracking our natal chart as far as our Constitution, um, the United States Constitution of September 17th, 1787. I have been tracking that since last year when I discovered that on our solar return, the lunar eclipse was happening. And in addition to that, asteroid Niobe was going to play this huge pivotal part in this whole lesson. So I've been really trying to decipher it and figure out what how she was going to work, because not very, I mean, I haven't really found any astrologers, to be honest with you, that use her. Um, they mention her, but I cannot say that anyone definitely uses her. And because she was at an exact moment on the lunar eclipse that happened on our solar return, of the eighth house, okay, which is the most mystical house of all three houses. Um, I have been on a crusade to figure out how she was going to work and what was going to happen. Um, in doing that, I had to figure out, and I've had this feeling for a couple of years now, to be honest with you. I think I've mentioned it in several of my videos that it seems like the Constitution was broken, which we all know, by a president in the past, prior to President Trump or even President Biden. I mean, it goes back much further. Um, and in my initial research, I discovered that it was Andrew Jackson who did the Native Indian Act removal, right? During his presidency, although he didn't execute it during his presidency, he waited and got in another president to execute it so that he could be over the removal of the natives. So, as I was digging through that history, and when I say digging through that history and doing research, I'm talking about going back to documents um, in the libraries, within Congress, within um, the historical societies, going back to books that were written of that time, journals, because I read some, not all, of George Washington's journals, um, and I realized they had been broken prior. Because it was leading up to this. And the reason why I'm saying it is because you have to understand our Constitution. I mean, really understand the philosophy. Um, I think too many people today just throw it around, and they really don't understand what was going on at the time. It was more than just fighting a tyrant king. It was actually about conquering the world, right? And there was a lot of this going on between nations trying to outdo each other. And they were doing it, as we know, in very hideous, horrible, massacring ways. They were stealing their resources, stealing their money, stealing, everything, and doing genocide. So what I discovered was the pivotal moment. The and I guess I should go back a step. The reason why it felt like our Constitution was broken is because when I've been doing astrology the last few years, what has been happening, and for me, because I started writing a book about this. I don't know if I'll ever publish it, but what I do want to share are a lot of the things that I found that are extremely important for all of us to know. Whether I do the book or not is irrelevant at this point. What we need to know is some of the things that I found that could actually affect us going forward because we have been deceived about our past. Okay? So what I found in the astrology the last couple of years is really looking at Pluto in Capricorn and Neptune in Pisces because they're what we call generational planets, and they travel, they move so slowly around the sun that it takes them a very long time to do a complete, you know, um, travel back to a certain point. And so, as we know, Pluto in Capricorn happened during the revolution, and then Neptune in Pisces happened during the Civil War. So I've really been focused in on those because when you hear the collective talking out there in the mainstream media, you hear Civil War, Civil War, Civil War. And then you also hear a lot of psychics, even astrologers, saying that we were in a revolution and that all these things were going to come up and be exposed, and and I believed it too, but it wasn't happening, not on the scale that it should happen with Pluto in Capricorn. Because let's remember, Capricorn is about taking responsibility. It's being responsible. It's structured because Saturn rules Capricorn, right? Now there are boundaries and limitations and challenges to this, but it is a structured system. That's why when we look at Capricorn, we often see government, right? That is where we see government. That's kind of what we associate with it. And that wasn't happening. In fact, if you go back to 2008, that's when Pluto entered Capricorn for us. Um, we saw the exact opposite. We saw Obama not standing up for the Constitution, which is we the people, right? Um, he actually stood up for the capitalists. He bailed out the financial banks, the corrupted financial banks. Yes, he put some programs into place to help homeowners who were losing their homes, but as we know, the government moves so slow because it is a slow moving energy. By the time these programs were implemented, 6 million people plus lost their homes, lost their entire livelihoods. 6 million. My best friend being one of them who almost lost her home. Um, Luckily, I do have a background in mortgage lending, and so I was able to maneuver her and help her and guide her so that she didn't lose her home. It took her a year and a half of complete stress and BS, but she was able to save her home. Um, so I guess what I'm saying is I realized, holy crap, Pluto in Capricorn, last time we saw it was the revolution. And we see this late start when Pluto moves into Capricorn during that time frame of the 1700s. We see this slow movement of energy building up, of people rising up against a tyrant king. And so I was looking at when Pluto entered into Capricorn in 2008, and there was some of that happening, a rise of the people against some of the corruption in the government and stuff, but it was being squashed. Obama was squashing it left and right. That was very disconcerting for me. Look, I voted for Obama too. This was a huge eye-opener for me that he's a capitalist. He's not. Anyway, long story short, so I started thinking about this and I thought, okay, the Constitution was broken under Andrew Jackson because of the Indian Removal Act. Then all of our presidents since when a contract is broken, they must have been using the shadow energy of our planet and not even knowing it, right? I mean, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt here. However, in doing my research, I found out it actually goes back. And actually, you can thank Donald Trump for this when he implemented the Sedition and Alien Act of 1798. And that, my friends, is when our Constitution was broken. So the Constitution did not stand for that long until it was broken. And so I've done some digging and some research into how many presidents exactly have broken the Constitution or went against the rule of law. And it seems every president since 1798, which is heartening. But it makes sense because they're using the shadow energy and they may not even know it, right? Um, and I'm not going to go down that dark tunnel or rabbit hole per se. But what I am going to tell you is that our Constitution was broken in 1798, and every president since has used a shadow side of the planets to accomplish their goals. Um, and, some obviously worse than others. Some were actually able to implement programs that actually helped we the people, which then I believe that goes against their own natal chart, um, being stronger and being able to fight off that shadow side of the Constitution, okay? The main thing is our Constitution was broken in 1798. It's going to keep doing this chaos and destruction and every until we fix it. We either have to burn it down and say we're going with a whole new government, a new idea, or we have to fix it. If we do not fix this broken contract, this is going to continue. It is karma for breaking something of legal statute that you sign, right? So I've been diving deep into our past and been blown away by what I found. But along the way, what I have discovered is that we've been manipulated in so many ways that we just don't even understand. Um, First of all, as you know, when we incarnate here as children, infants, babies, and then grow up, um, as you know, our minds are wiped. Our memories, I guess what I should say. Our memories are wiped of where we came from, why we're here, who we are, our souls. Um, in addition, they developed back in the 1700s, and I know this is hard to believe, but this kind of brainwashing has actually goes back even further. It goes back centuries and centuries, that they've done upon humanity. And when I say they, I'm talking about, I refer to them as the overlords. I don't know who they are. Um, I, but you will see through the videos I'm going to put out, I will always call them the overlords because they have pushed certain people, humanity, to do things, to control the population. And they do this through various ways of manipulation. And I was blown away when I started finding all of this. But the main thing here is you are never going to see the truth. What I mean is the veil actually dropping, and you come out of this illusion that we're in and see the reality of the world we're in until you break your ego. And I know it sounds scary as hell. It sounds arrogant, I guess, but as a medium psychic, I have been shown that when we come in, when we incarnate, there's like this goo of I can only describe it as like a thick honey that is put over this little tiny part in our brain called our ego. And so that we don't break it, so that we use it, it becomes really powerful. And we submit to, you know, being controlled. When you shatter that goo that's on your ego, you begin to see the reality of what is going on. And I'm not saying all of the reality. It's not all going to come in like, you're going to get pieces start coming together, just like me. I don't have everything figured out, but I certainly would say I'm 75% further than I was 2 years ago. Because I broke my ego, shattered it. Um, you can't just break it, you have to shatter it. You have to get all that goo off your ego. In order to do that, it's very simple. You just have to let go of everything you believe because someone else told you to believe it. That's it. You have to open your mind of other possibilities. When you do that and you shatter your ego, I promise you, my friends, you will start seeing the reality of what is going on. And it's only then will we be able to stand together against the overlords that are trying and have been for a very long time of controlling humanity. That's why we're here. Okay? Um, that's we're here to awaken everyone. And that doesn't mean like, we all think, oh, it means realizing there's another reality, across the veil. That's not all of it at all. That's just the baby step. The next step is realizing the actual environment that we're in, the control that we're under. So I do have a couple of examples that I'm going to go through to help shatter your ego. And this is going to hurt. I can't say it enough. It does hurt. It hurts like a headache. You might even get a migraine. Just take some Advil, Tylenol, ibuprofen, whatever works for you. This headache, the main thing is you have to keep moving forward. You cannot stop because it hurts. Keep moving forward. I promise you, my friends, the pain does go away. And not only does it go away, your spiritual powers become stronger, they become more powerful than you can ever imagine. And I encourage you to do your own research, but definitely watch my videos and truly make an effort to shatter your ego. We are in a very delicate time. I believe by following Niobe that we have more time than I thought we had. Most astrologers say that we're going to get locked in by 2027. I disagree with that. I believe we're going to get locked in by 2029. So by following asteroid Niobe. Because remember, asteroid Niobe is about ego. And what she's trying to teach us is to shatter it, to not be like what she did and walk in ego. Because when you walk in ego, there are these massive consequences that happen to you, around you, and to your reality. When you shatter that and you take Niobe's hand and you accept the challenge, I guarantee you, my friends, you're going to be blown away by your own abilities, going to a level that I can't even explain to you, but is the way we were actually created, not being manipulated and suppressed as we are right now. And believe me, they are suppressing our critical thinking at 95%. And I'm not shitting you. Once you crack your ego, shatter your critical thinking starts getting better and better. And the more you critical think things through all around you, the better you get and the more heightened your own psychic abilities become. Your senses get so much clearer, crisper, stronger. That's how we were made. That's how our ancient ancestors operated. Not this bullshit line that they give us. Our ancient ancestors, in fact, what I believe from the research that I have found, lived on this planet for a very long time, in ways that will blow your mind, of having renewable energy, having interconnectedness and compassion for each other, no wars. Um, and there was a pivotal moment that happened when a reset happened. And when the reset happened, the overlords took advantage of that and have suppressed our memories, have suppressed our, um, abilities. And we are functioning at probably 1% of what we were created to function at. Our ancestors um, operated for centuries and centuries and centuries in harmony and peace. And we need to get back to that. And it is possible. And we do have this opportunity to do that. All these wars that they tell us about are not all true at all. There are a lot of wars that are true because it happened after the reset. But prior to that, there were not all these wars. It's all fabricated history. Anyway, I love you guys, and I hope, for humanity's sake, I guess, that you take my challenge and you shatter your ego. Blessings.